look at what the positives that Gen Z brought about, because again, I will always go back to what those guys, the Gen Z, taught us. They were doing the finance bill in the
local languages.
In the local languages.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, we learned a lot. We, you know, when you look at someone like Jimmy Wanjigi educating us about, you know, SGR and also
the debt.
The debt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, odious debt.
Odious debt, and, you know, procurement and stuff. And on top of that, people are learning, people having kamkunjis, Twitter spaces, learning about the Constitution. What does this mean? What does this mean, or whatever? Those are the silver linings.
Yeah.
In as much as, you know, people are being abducted in broad daylight with cameras running, you know, guys are still abducted. Even though a promise was made during campaigns, this thing will stop.
Yeah.
So this is a moment where you're like, you know what, you hunker down and learn more, because we understand IEBC has not been constituted yet.
Yeah.
And
you cannot overtax people to death. You cannot overtax people to make money. You cannot do like. And then the day that he was talking and he was like, I'm happy that Tanzania has surpassed Kenya in manufacturing goods. And I'm like, dude, those are industries that you chased away. We are halfway through the previous election period, and there are constituencies that don't have MPs.
And they're not going to get anytime soon.
There are 3 and 7 civic seats, 7 MCA seats.
Yeah. 3 and 7.
How are those people being represented? How are those people being represented?
There was an MCA that we hosted, Joe Kigara, who actually uncovered the lead on what members of county assembly are doing. This was actually a former diasporan. His name is Joe Kigara, and he's I don't know that he was the minority leader. Maybe he still is the minority leader of Kiambu County, and the MCA of Nyenda Ward. Mike, your episode ya Joe Kigara, what did you learn about MCAs that maybe you did not know before?
That their role is similar to, I believe, members of parliament, in that they're the ones who they check the governor.
Yeah.
They're the ones who, like, they can impeach.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to understand what their role was. I was trying to get, like, okay, to understand what is the difference between you guys and whatever. They are the, for lack of a better word, ndio wana supervise and the police.
Yeah.
And that made sense when wakona nguvu.
Yeah.
And that's why you know, so for me that made sense, like how they can impeach governors.
They can impeach governors.
And re-impeach.
Yeah.
And re-impeach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that has been misused, you know, like to the maximum.
They have.
Yeah.
And you know, when you hear, like, now when let's say Mwangaza was being impeached, you know, some of the language or the cases that are being fronted or whatever the accusations are, it's similar to, let's say, what DP, you know, the former DP Gachagua was going through. Like, it's not something concrete. They just need to formulate something. And
then it becomes a thing.
And then, of course, there's that threshold of 30 not 33 and a third. What is it, 34? There has to be a percentage that...
It has to be at least 2/3.
2/3.
The gender rule, right?
Yeah.
No. Not gender.
No, it's not gender rule.
No.
Like
to
voting.
impeach. Yeah.
To impeach.
Oh,
voting.
yes, 2/3, yes.
So it cannot be 33 and a third.
So there was
no third of a person.
There was a mathematical problem. I can't remember the numbers. It was so embarrassing.
It was very embarrassing.
It was in Kericho County.
Yeah. It was Kericho.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where they...
Yes, it was.
Where they said that because the threshold is at least 2/3. So because
your threshold yao
Yeah.
depend na a 0.3 of a person. 0.3.
0.3. So now the argument when they went to
Senate.
to Senate, they were saying this number should be rounded up and not rounded down. And the law clearly says there has to be at least 2/3. So the 2/3 came to a 0.3. So now they are saying they've reached the required number to impeach, and in way it went all the way to this. It was so embarrassing that they were doing arithmetics in the Senate.
Can you imagine how much money they lost as a county?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and then the governor had to travel to Nairobi for the trial.
Ilihulo.
Yeah. So
Ilihulo.
so that's
looking
where.
for money.
So
Yeah.
so again, I think
And those guys are close to where another guy comes from. The other guy over here.
But lakini pia hilo ya Kenya, like literally, how do you 0.3 of a person? Like where will you find that atado kamuguka atakuja kabo?
because if you remember there was I think there was also that thing when I think it was during that Gen Z thing where I think the constitution of cabinets, when you have to look at it, you cannot round up, you can only round it down. So if you don't fikisha, again, it was a lot of things going on during the career. But again, that was part of how that was what I learned, because then also we learned how he survived. Because remember, this was a UDA stronghold. UDA.
Yeah, and he won on a Jubilee ticket.
And he won a Jubilee ticket.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and he also said something that I didn't expect from him, was that he didn't mind if he never won again. You guys may not remember him, but he actually said that if he didn't win, fine. He'd feel like he came in, he made his mark, and he was good.
But in Kenya, majority of people who serve, they only serve for one term. The rate of attrition is so high,
But
it is shocking.
For which positions?
For MCAs, for members of parliament, the attrition rate is extremely high. Like members of parliament
MCA
and
ukitaka
senators,
kusurvive,
it's like
ni ukoeni
80%.
mtu wa mtaani.
Yeah.
Like
So
wanakujua na walishakubali ni wewe na itakuwa ni wewe. And then for MCA, for you to survive, you have to be like, you have to be so involved,
You have to sell
so in there that it's you didn't go, even if you've gone to make money, you have built so much inroads in a point that wanajua ule ni ali mtoto wa nani, ule ni ali, like wanajua nikitaka kitu naenda kwa ali, nafanya hivi, nafanya hivi. That's how you're going to survive.
So
But MCA, if you're just doing politics.
So MCA na parliament survival rate, like attrition is about 70 to 80%. The reason why we think that people stay there for long is because there's this small number that have been there. Kina Junet, the ones that we constantly see, Kina Mili, the ones that we constantly see. So we tend to think that people stay there for long. But look at any election, 70 to 80% gone.
But I'll venture this and say, with the current mood in Murima, if he's to run again, ataingia under Jubilee.
Okay. Okay. Let's
I
let's
can
wait
see
and
that. Hey, Murima ni kubaya. We.
Because remember, he's again, he stood out. He stood out like a sore thumb. Because in all the places, the wards that he was running, most of those guys actually, most people shifted from Jubilee and whatever. Wakaenda UDA.
So yeye alikuwa na competition sana.
In fact, him was like sawa tu, lakini he said, Kikuyu say Okarimagago, I'll die on this hill. That's the one. That's the hill I'm gonna die on.
Yeah.
That is it. And he died. And now with more or less the career, because with whatever is going on with Gachagua.
Sai Murima ukiva yellow si unachomwa.
In other words, Wakamba wasikaribie.
Okay. All right.
Can I say something about politics?
Yes.
You know how there was this trend on Instagram about black women have like, peace out, don't bother us, you all do your thing. I think nimefika hapo. I never knew I'd ever get to that point.
With Kenyan politics or
or
US
the-
politics?
All of it.
So like,
Let me tell you something, Ruth.
Yeah.
I understand you.
Yeah.
Election fatigue,
Yeah.
because I suffered it for the first time. For the first time,
Okay.
I suffered.
Yeah.
I've been in quite a number of losing elections, right?
Yeah.
I've supported Raila, I supported Hillary, right? Like I've had election losses.
Yeah.
I've never had election fatigue. This one,
Yeah.
hii nayo ilinimaliza. This one, yeah, I can feel where you are, because this
Okay.
one, me ilifika mahali right now, hata niko pale wacha kaungue kaende kaende. Like I don't give a
no,
damn
no.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Let
don't,
it burn.
I'm like, I don't have any energy left. I just want to focus on me, my health, wealth, and love. That's it. It isn't in
No, I think the issue that's happening is that democracy as currently constructed, I don't think it's working anymore. And the reason I'm saying this is over so many years, remember, people innovate in any field we're in. Think about how people used to work even as recently as in the early 2000s or in the late 90s, and think about where we are today. Everything is progressing, but with how people select their leaders, we want to remain stagnant with this one style of doing it, and it's not working. And it's not like there are no innovations when it comes to selecting leaders. There's innovations in places like I think it's Alaska and Maine, where they're using something called
Yes.
ranked choice voting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that RCV is very interesting because it will change. Because right now, with the winner takes it all, especially with these normal seats where there's no 50% plus one required, it's the most extreme candidates who get the most traction, and those most extreme candidates tend not to be the ones who have people's interests.
But you also have only two candidates. I mean, two major parties that are.
So now that's at the presidential level. But now even at the presidential level, if we introduce RCV, things will change. Because remember, if you're a Democrat, guess what? You're not picking Trump as number two. If you're a Democrat and you're given people to rank, you're voting for Kamala, and then number two, you're choosing maybe Jill Stein or someone else. Trump, you go last. Guess what? In American elections, guess what? No one. It's only Obama, I think. I don't know, and Biden. Biden might have hit 50%. Even Trump, this election, unajua hit 50%. Do you guys know that popular vote?
Oh, that gap was so low.
Yeah, he did not hit 50%. So with
that gap
RCV,
was that gap even 2 million votes?
Because unaona hiyo gap ilikuwa ni ndogo sana. With RCV,
Yeah, it was so low.
with ranked choice voting, if you do not hit 50%, you have to go to a second round. Now that second round, that's where now everybody is humbled because you know what to. Of course, whoever voted for Trump as number one, you're voting for someone else as number two. So kwa hiyo number two, anyone can be knocked out. Trump can be knocked out. Kamala can be knocked out. And they can use this within states, not even necessarily at the national level. They can even use this within states on your electoral college. Within states and do it that way. So you can see Alaska is producing very different leaders. Guess what knocked out Kina Sarah Palin?
Yeah.
Oh, it's same.
It's ranked choice voting, yes.
Okay.
When ranked choice voting came in, it knocked out all these funny characters.
So until we get to that point, because I mean it when I say I don't care what happens. And I've never known, I think Ali, you've known me the longest year. Like I cared about elections, I cared about being involved, I cared about participating, getting to know the issues. But if I don't have the energy anymore.
No, I
think
I get it.
I get it with when Mika says that I am if places like I watch at you in where I feel that
But
way.
Mika has been angry for
here-
a long time. I think
here in
even-
Kenya.
So
No, I've not arrived to being angry. I think I've just like maintained optimism for too long, and
No.
I don't have it anymore.
No, but you know, right now
there's a lot of us who are there.
right now we are at a turning point where things are not looking so good in the US, especially with all these wars happening in different parts of the world, and challenges coming for the US from China and from so many other places geopolitically, economically, and so much. And then when you look back to Kenya is also we're on our way to becoming a basket case if we're not careful. I know we talk about Zimbabwe, we talk about all these other countries. If we are not careful, we're on our way to
Ali.
getting there.
Let me.
Kenya, we are so hellbent. This is the thing.
Yeah.
This is my assessment of Kenya. It's either we have a president who doesn't want to listen, or we have a president who's very badly misadvised. The people don't tell him the truth of what is happening at the ground. I don't know why. I don't see how he doesn't see that people don't like him. People don't like his policies. People feel betrayed because he was voted. This guy was liked. When he was being elected, he was liked. People liked him. There are people who hated him, but people liked him. He was likable. He was laughing. He could go anywhere and just lighten up a room and whatever he's doing. He was likable, and he came with a lot of promises. And the issue is that all his promises have been turned around. None of them has come true. Everything that he touches, you see the way Midas was touching everything, it was turning to gold. Everything he touches turns into shit. And this is the people around him. Another thing is the people who are around him are stealing, and they're flaunting it, and they're talking with such arrogance that I'm like, dude, I want to believe this guy is being given a different view of the country than what is happening in the country, because I don't see how he doesn't see it. Or if it's not that, he has decided that I don't really care about you guys. I don't worry what's happening in this guys, because every day you hear something in Kenya is either something that's thinking about fleecing people,
Yeah.
or it's something that's is thinking about making life harder for people.
And
Like, you cannot overtax people to death. You cannot overtax people to make money. You cannot do like. And then the day that he was talking and he was like, "I'm happy that Tanzania has surpassed Kenya in manufacturing goods," and I'm like, dude, those are industries that you chased away.
Yeah.
Mika, before Mika, I have a special dedication for you, brother. Hold on.
Usiweke kasongo.
How did you know what's Kasongo? Can you?
Hold on. This for Mika. So Mika,
Commercial break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, that's what
Yani,
you
you guys
play.
have misused this song.
Union dropout.
Oh,
Has
so-
nothing to do with.
It's not about misusing this one. The thing is this.
Yeah.
This is we are halfway through the previous election period, and there are constituencies that don't have MPs.
And they're
Because
not gonna
there's
get
no-
anytime
So
soon.
There are
So
3
how-
and 7
how those-
civic seats, 7 MCA seats.
yeah,
Yeah.
3 and 7.
How are those people being represented? How are those people being represented? We are halfway through an election period. There's never been even one single new project that has commenced or started. None, right? We are halfway. We have gone a full year, right? 2024 is over. We've gone a full year. There's no health insurance in the country. How are people being treated? There are no teachers have not been hired. Junior secondary teachers have not been hired for nearly a full year, right? We are having colossal catastrophes after catastrophe. Like, things are just tumbling down. It's not even
No.
about hating the president or going about the president. Where is the functionality of the country halfway after an election? Halfway.
Now, there's so many things going wrong in Kenya, and I think people are not realizing where we are. Now, you see, Kenya, I've divided Kenya's history into 30-year phases. There was the first 30-year phase where we got independence. We had Kenyatta, and then Moi took over from Kenyatta. So we started economically. We started well, and then Moi took over from Kenyatta. Now, Moi, I think after the coup, he ended up politicizing everything. But I think at a certain point, he realized that politics has its limits, because Moi was known as the master of politics. So I think when Kibaki came in, after he was overwhelmingly elected, and then 2007 happened, I think that 2007 election, one thing that Uhuru and Ruto learned is that you are not going to win an election by providing a good economy. Because that election, everybody knows it's Raila who won that election. And I think what they figured out at that time with that was like, Kibaki was doing so well with the economy, but, like they had to steal an election to get him go there. So I think what they started doing, they started focusing on politicizing everything, because after Kibaki did not care much about politics. He was all about,
Economics,
let's get this done.
Let's get this done, yeah.
Now, when Uhuru came in, that's when politics came back pole. But there was still some remaining elements of, let's get these projects done. Let's do this. Let's do that here. And now, Ruto having defeated Uhuru in politics, I think he decided that it's going to be all politics. So now he started the politicization, but the mistake that he made is that he used the economy to win an election. And knew the issues that people were talking about, the salient issues, so he used that. What he didn't realize is that these are things, now you're waking up a side of Kenyans that had gone to sleep. You're waking up a monster that is not going to go back to bed. So to him, he was like, I'm going to use this to win an election, and then get in there, go back to business as usual, steal, and get away with it. And it's now within 2 years of him being in power,
2 years.
he experienced an uprising. Right now, he's so scared of reconstituting IEBC because he knows he's lost so much support. So what they're trying to do now is to replay this tribal calculus to see if he can put together a coalition to win an election.
And cue the new substitutes, the new signed individuals.
When I was home, there's this part I was...
Oh, by the way, we're able to participate vitu kwa ground.
Yeah. I chose not to participate or to listen in or whatever because it was too much. I've never been in an environment where everything is from the government and everything from the government is negative, right? There's Gachagua, there's Kindiki, is it Shisha, whatever, that one.
It's Taifa Care, please.
They've changed it. See, there's that, right?
It was Sha, Chief, K.
Shu.
So they rebranded it.
Okay.
Yes.
It was so much all at the same time.
Yeah.
They don't even know what to focus on, right? Just when you think this is crazy, something crazier comes up.
Yep.
Or something that actually you care about comes up.
Yeah.
Then like, what do I actually focus on?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not listening. I want to listen to something. But there, I went to the Senate. I sat on the Senate to listen in. That day, they're talking about the people who are being disappeared.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really nice, right? But that is the only time I was like, okay, maybe let me see what they talk about in the Senate, like, and participated in that. Mm-hmm. But like, the news became so much negative that I couldn't focus on what do I choose to pay attention to
No,
today
I
that
think,
can either move the needle on, get to learn more about?
I think part of the problem is that in Kenya, we don't have PBS, we don't have NPR. So this mainstream news that we have, they like those explosive stuff. So you see,
Become a
like,
Fox News.
you see like the good
Very
stuff that's
partisan.
being discussed in parliament, and you are never gonna hear about it. So if you go to the YouTube page, they usually stream everything
Yeah.
that
What's
that
happening.
parliament plays. That's how I was able to catch those American MPs we gave, those American congressmen
Yeah.
that we gave red cards.
Yeah.
That's how I was able to catch them, because I usually sometimes sit and just listen to those debates. So there's some good things that come out. There's actually some good bills that are in there. There's some good things, but the problem is that what the news will focus on is on Mambo ya Gachagua. Like
No,
impeachment.
with other, not only Gachagua only, but also other things.
Other explosive things,
Yes.
like if someone says something silly, like it's gonna be added there.
Yeah.
So now we don't have proper coverage of
But Ali,
other
let me
things that
ask
are happening that we don't know about. Which if you sit and watch those 4-hour sessions or 3-hour sessions.
but I don't have the time for that.
Now, and that's why I agree with you.
Yeah.
People don't have the time for that. So if we could get like a PBS, because like PBS and NPR, they don't focus on the drama and the flair.
True.
They focus on the substance and the juice and the sauce. So if we could get that may be. You see, like the way sometimes even Spice is a little bit, I would say, is a little bit. They sometimes focus on things that we are supposed to be talking about. That's an exception. Spice FM is an exception to the rule.
It is.
I don't know whether you watch Spice
I
FM.
know I do watch
Yeah,
Spice, but
that's
they're
an
too
exception
long.
to the
They're
rule.
too long.
No, but they have shorter videos.
They have shorter videos,
They have,
but-
ama unataka TikTok highlight.
Ana-
I want-
ana-
30
anataka
seconds.
reels.
I want, like,
Reels.
there's this Nini I listen on NPR, Up Fast, gives me a summary,
good.
what's happened. And
Even
that's
New-
it.
But I
even
think
New
with
York
That's what I
Times
want.
has
Yeah.
a version.
So,
But I
So
think
what?
with Kenya, you need
Skiza,
context.
if you listen to the first 10 minutes
wewe
of
basi unanini
Spice,
tuko.co.ke.
up fast. Yeah.
I did what?
Tuko.co.ke.
No, I do not need to call.
Yeah.
Hell no.
No, but you see, the thing is, the issue
But
is
tuko ndo nakwanga na hizo nini.
Yeah.
No.
Tuko sema kila kitu.
Before
Because, you know,
James-
tuko apparently it was aired out that tuko is a government thing.
before Jemo comes in, I was gonna say what Spice does, in as much as they're not trying to prolong, but they want to give you substance. But you also have to explain, because without giving background, because that's another thing. When you don't give background sometimes to stories, you miss the big picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like now, for example, you guys had
Once
the story.
Kenya where people like quoting.
Yeah,
Hey.
but you see, like now the story of the gentleman who had been arrested, who had been accused of
Yeah.
molesting his daughter.
Yeah.
Served 17 years. Daughter comes out and says, "I was forced to," but you're like, "How are you forced to?" Because you're like, "No, this daughter has to go to jail." But no, when you find out that it was the Jama's brother in collusion with whatever. They are, for some reason you cannot just say and then you just move on. And I think that sometimes has happened, because even when you look at sometimes the blogs, they say that a certain MP has done this or whatever, then they keep on moving. So we are left wondering, who the hell is this guy they're talking about? So we are left guessing.
Sometimes they may not even mention the name. A
No.
member of parliament
Yeah,
from
they do that.
Nyeri County.
from
Yeah.
here, yeah.
What the
and,
heck?
And I think and that is why, like, I love it, because these guys are so objective. Because if they find a matter that is pertinent, I mean, they will do everything. They'll do about cancer screaming. They'll do about whatever.
So I think, but Spice is commentary, right? So I think it does.
They do have
take-
news. The first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that up
Is
fast.
it just on its own, or is it part of the show?
No, it's the first 10 minutes of the show. I think they usually separate it. If you go look at the videos they break up,
Yeah.
you will find it. And actually, Spice, it's only divided into, in every hour, there's only 43 to 45 minutes of content.
Yeah.
So when you go to their YouTube page, you'll find that those 43 minutes. So you don't have to listen to the full 3 hours.
Yeah, because they've got
Okay.
clips, so they'll
So
Yeah, when
in
they're
the
interviewing
morning-
Tata,
Yeah.
it's the 43 minutes. So they will talk the first hour.
Muluka.
They will even cover what's in the
the
what's in the
news.
news.
They'll discuss it. They find it
and that's
visible.
also separately.
Okay, let me give you my rundown of a morning. I listen up first, the daily, and at some point I listen to the journal. What dropped the previous day. On my drive home, I listen to Marketplace, and I'm done with the news at that point for the most part.
Yeah.
The rest, I'll scrolling. I'll get to know what happened, right? But I have the gist of what happened in the country and internationally. Not, of course, I need to go find more details, but like with those four news whatever, I'm able to get the grasp of what's happening. Do we have that in Kenya? Because like between Up First, the daily, and the journal, that is enough for getting ready in the morning and driving. And I think that is what we need, because
that's what we need. Yeah.
Kenya can bombard you with so many things that you don't even know what to focus on.
Yeah.
And that is why I think for me,
Unajua, wacha
Spice
niulize
FM
swali.
becomes
Unajua-
the career.
unajua-
Spice FM
Hold
or
up.
Citizen
Hold up.
becomes those guys that I will go to. Well, not all Citizen, but like when I see some, like the certain people that I see that like, let me listen to these guys. Mika, go ahead.
What I was saying is that, you guys are so used to listening to news that's here, you've been accustomed to it, so you want other people's news reporting to be the way you guys. It's just the way that Uno has said. In Kenya, if things were compressed like that and they were pulled out, and the way our politics is, then that news will be used for politicking and itageuzwa story, right?
Kabisa.
You remember he hapa kwa show when Sifuna was trying to turn around things, right? And I was like, no, it's been said like this, because the thing is, if you just report a headline, they'll easily deflect that and say this is not how it happened. So it's a matter of the market, how their reporting needs to be done, how it's supposed to be done, how they expect it to be done. It would be nice to have it compressed,
Yeah.
the way it's been compressed here in here, but then will it serve the purpose to the Kenyan market when it's compressed?
Now, to add to what Mika said, the reason why they're not doing that in Kenya is because most media houses, 99% of them are for profit. And that becomes problematic, which is why I say we need a not-for-profit media. It is very important. You talked about telling our stories.
Yeah.
How is it being funded in other countries? It's being funded.
But the government,
when
Kenya
you look
is not
at
doing that.
it's not only the government.
Yeah.
When you look at, like, for example, the people, their foundations, there are so many groups
PBS.
that are funding not-for-profit media. The government maybe might find, like Voice of America. It may provide some funding for some of the stations. In Brito, BBC is funded by the government, but there's a clear firewall between the editorial team at BBC and the government. So they've been doing that for so many years. So that's because the excuse sometimes is that there's no appetite for this. But the reason why there's no appetite is because that food is not being served.
Yeah.
Once you serve the food and you create the appetite, remember, morning shows in Kenya used to be gossip. There used to be gossip, kina Kingangi, kina Churchill. It used to be, there always had to be a comedian. And in fact, most Kenyan morning shows were like that. Now, Spice dared to think different. They dared to think different. There was like, because people are like, pana, easy serious stuff, hakuna mtu atasikiza.
And by the way,
today, it's the most listened to.
Spice.
It's the most listened to morning show in Kenya.
The Spice, I think those guys tried to sell that. They tried to sell it to 105. They tried to sell it. Nobody bought it. Most of those major whatevers never bought it.
Yeah. But now it is the most, because they took time, they created it, and they realized that there's a demand for this. So I think if we start creating, the quality news, there's quantity news whereby taarifa ya habari, like 1 hour, like where everything is thrown in there. But unaona kama ukisikiza, and maybe NPR, we can Kenyanize this in our own way. In NPR, like every hour, if you listen to the first like 5-6 minutes, they will give you a quick summary of everything that's happening, and then the rest of the hour, if it's a program, if it's on point, or if it's another issue they want to discuss deeper, it will go. But within those 5 minutes, you have everything that you need, and you don't have to keep going
listening.
on a loop.
No, you don't need to.
Listening.
Ali unakumbuka kitambo ilikosema na huu ni muhtasari wa habari unaitwa kwako na ngulamu wa viro.
Yes, that was actually quality,
Yeah, you remember that, right?
Yes, I remember that.
And but then the muhtasari will come in. You remember the one news ya kulikuwa na news ilikuwanga kulikuwa na muhtasari ya saa 6 alafu news inakuja saa 7 ku explain more.
Yes, exactly. Wanakupatia vidokezo, highlights, ndio unajua kuna habari moto leo. So
and then you wait for the main show, for the main newscast later.
Yeah.
I think they should go back to that.
You know, Citizen, do you know why I stopped watching it live? Squeezy, they've done a good thing. They now will give you the bulletin in a short. You know, I stopped watching it live. Do you know, out of 1 hour, how many minutes of news you have? Have you ever tried to?
Maybe 15.
1 hour.
It's not many because there are a lot of adverts.
Around 22 minutes is adverts.
Citizen.
Yes. Like ukitime, you know, like utakuta, like sometimes even a 7-minute break. Adverts. Another thing I don't like what Citizen has started doing, a lot of the things that they are presenting as news are not. Utasikia, shabiki.com, huyu ameshinda milioni moja. Then they present it as a news article. I came to learn that shabiki.com is owned by the owner of Citizen.
Oh, Lord.
So now when they constantly keep showing on TV that people are winning, more people are going into that betting stuff.
There.
Yes. So that's what they do. Business news, everything is paid for. Almost everything in business news is paid for. Na hata hii hapa wamemweka Yvonne Squeezy inaitwa Power Talk. That's a paid segment where they get like a CEO at sijui KCB has made profits kuja hapa. That's
you don't remember when there was a time, Ali, when people would go back home December wanatokea kwa TV.
December.
There was a time where diasporans used to go home and wanatokea kwa TV or kwa news or kwa TV. People are paying to shoot.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, you know, like people pay to be on those interviews. You know, like if you want to be on an interview and you have a few dollars, you will be on an interview.
Yeah, I'm willing to have Uno interview me.
Yeah.
But I just going back to how this whole thing started. It started with you saying that you tuned out.
I've tuned out.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. I remember I was reading an article way back where this dude I think he was a conservative pundit in the 70s. He came up with a phrase. It was like, you know, the young people in the 70s while state was grappling with
Vietnam,
with the Vietnam War, and then also they are just past this I don't want to call it equality. They're all with
Civil Rights Act
of
of 1764.
Yeah. So you know, there was it was like this gray area. People were confused, especially young guys were really confused. And this dude who came was like he said that the young people have turned up, tuned in, and dropped out. And it literally embodied what the young people at that time were doing. Like, they weren't paying attention to politics because you have a crazy, you know, not really convicted yet, but a president who's doing silly stuff. You know, there's a war in, you know, so far away that we are supposed to be in, you know, dying every day. You know, we have it. So it kind of reminds me where we are right now, right? The kind of government that we have in Kenya and we're about to have in Stato, it's essentially what they call a kakistocracy, where it's the government by the least qualified, by the worst and unscrupulous people. You know, they just, all they want to do is just literally F up. They're there to just do whatever they want to do.
And harvest.
Right, because they think there's no accountability, you know. But unfortunately, the end game to this usually ends up in a catastrophe. Like, because people get fed up. We are seeing, like, I think somebody sent a picture today on WhatsApp, like, Joho and I can't remember the other dude, sitting in a private plane, in a private jet. Like, and we're talking with one mic coming here. I'm like, these dudes are sitting in a private jet, and yet one mic was telling me there's a lady, a mother in Mombasa. Was it Mombasa?
It was Mombasa who was boiling at one point. Remember that mama who was boiling stones?
Yeah.
So that the kids can sleep because she didn't have money for food.
But yet...
And that was when Nani Joe... And we're talking about some time back where Joe was governor.
Yeah. But yet, this dude is riding in a freaking private plane. So anyway, it just comes down to that. Yeah, we are tuning out because we are seeing the least qualified leading government and doing some really silly stuff that...
But you see, the problem is when the good people tune out, that's when these people with the worst instinct
take over.
That's when they take over. And they've been taking over.
Can I okay, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate for a second here, right? As much as I'm tuning out, I'm not completely going away, right? It's just like I will engage when I feel like my energy, I have the energy for it. Also, I feel if it will make a difference, right? I think that's what I'm at, right? Because we've been at it for so long. Excuse me. Trying to is not make that just that different, but to educate people, to show people, what. Excuse me. Please go somewhere else.
Okay.
It's true.
Now you see when how do I put it? When, to me, I'm a student. I'm a big student of history. The reason why I personally try not to give up is because, remember, the successes that the small successes that we have today, they are a combination of 1,000 different small steps that were made.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at what previous generations were dealing with.
Right.
Like where there was total there was everything to lose, and they had far worse odds of success than we did. So I think if we get to a point, I want you guys to pay attention to something. If we get to a point, because even I hear sometimes with even Black Americans sometimes where people and it's understandable to feel that whatever we're doing is not making a difference, but where it stops making a difference is when there's a sum of so many people who are giving up. Then at that point, it starts not making a difference. But when you think about, like the people who came before who had far worse odds than we have today, I think you'll understand why it's okay to take a break. It's okay to take a pause. It's okay to detox, but giving up, because when you give up, now there's gonna be an accumulation of other people, because this thing sometimes becomes contagious. When mtu moja monalia ame give up, anaona maze alia ame give up, hata pia mi pia nimejitoa. So now when it accumulates, it becomes easy. Then now it becomes easier for these other guys, because these other guys, they don't care. They're there for selfish reasons. They don't care. So we make their work easier. And I think even with Trump, I think that's part of what happened. When you look at the numbers that Biden got versus the numbers that Kamala got, you realize that a lot of Democrats sat out this election.
They did.
But the Democrats have to change their politics.
Yeah.
For once, I never knew I would ever agree with that statement, but yeah.
It's gotten
to a point whereby Democrats are trying too much to be politically correct that they are alienating other people.
Yep.
They have to change their politics and listen to their people, because the Democrats also who will resonate to what that guy was preaching about: cheap gas, cheap food, cheap. The Democrats who are not as Democrats should stop assuming that everybody Democratic is college educated and is smart enough to understand technicalities of politics. Democrats should also start looking at things whereby all the nobody's killing each other, nobody's doing anything. There's so much important things that people need than trying to put your politics on people's faces. The Democratic
Yeah.
Party in itself, it's alienating its people. It needs to be banned.
But I think
You-
also
you know-
let me say this. I think also again, I think we have been so programmed in Kenya and accustomed to a certain lifestyle and a certain way of politics, such that this year was a fast for many of us. And a fast in terms of even checking our political class. For us, I'm talking about us. You know, forget Moi. I'm talking about us right now, you know. Because you think about it. Whatever happened, something happened where we forced the president to do something about the cabinet. We did something that not only garnered, that forced, whether we like it or not, that forced the president to seek to outstretch his hand to somebody that had been said that they would never reach out to. Unaona?
But then, no.
Let me finish. So, and this was done not at by me and you, protesters, Gen Z, and I think I see Ali's point where, you know, I mean, I understand there's the frustration from
Fatigue.
fatigue.
Yeah.
But then on this other side, you know, when you're saying that these kids, you know, even when people are being shot at, when we had Kelvin and we had Kelvin, Val and Roba.
Yeah.
And they're telling us, you know, like even when guys, even I think even Mika remembers this, you know, like even guys, even the kids are being shot at, they're still advancing to parliament. So that in itself, you know, it opens something up. You know, it triggers something. You're like, you know what? There is fatigue, but these guys are giving us life.
Yeah.
There's a life that is being breathed into this whatever this is.
Movement.
Into this movement. And then we have people who give us hope. Like when you listen to someone like Okiya Omtata, like in as much as all this is going on, he's still our champion. Not a lord. He's not a lawyer. He's ajakaa kwa bar, whatever. You know, he not passed the bar exam, or whatever you want to call it, LSK, but he's still winning. I think there is that need to keep on fighting, because even if even if it's not for us, actually it's not necessarily for us.
Yeah.
It's for our toys.
Yeah, and you know, when people like Omtata, for example, one problem that we have, and even as Mika was talking about the Democratic Party, when we look at Kenya, when we have characters like Omtata who've presented themselves,
Yes.
that I'm ready to run for 2027, the biggest problem we're gonna start seeing is people hitting him like, oh, hana pesa, oh,
Rosary.
oh, amefanya hivi, or people are gonna start looking.
There's
for,
an idiot who say that he needs $1 billion shillings. He needs something like
yeah.
that.
So I think that's part of the problem, whereby we are not willing to look in a different direction. I mean, you know, we had an example of Morara, and Morara, for some reason, people have started abandoning him. I don't know what's going on in his camp, but people have kind of started abandoning him. And I also feel like there's also some external forces that have been sent to these different Gen Z
Groups.
movements. Yes, I honestly feel like there's an
I
external
am still
hand.
standing with Morara.
There's an external hand at work. Morara has been when Kimori, when Ule anaitwa Evans Kimori abandoned him. That's when I was like, because that was his closest like right hand man. Na yeye yesterday pia amejitoa, and they were saying that they're gonna have a youth conference next year. So I don't know, like what.
I'm not gonna say much. I'm not trying to equate or whatever, but I'll say this. When I hear of that, I think of Sankara and Blaze Compaore.
Yeah. So I think, like, to me, I think I'm now trending towards more of the Omtata candidacy, because at least he's someone he's won an election. He served in the Senate. The presidency is not an easy thing to run for, but I think he has the values espoused by younger people, the younger people who are protesting. He has those values that were espoused. So I think that might be a direction that people need to start taking seriously and considering. And you see, with all the other people who failed before, starting with Kinda Boni, all these other guys who tried to do it the right way and failed, is kind of like we pick up an accumulation of the lessons they learned along the way. Because we would not have had an Omtata election if there were not a series of failures.
True.
Of other people who are doing something similar that had failed. So whenever we face defeat, don't look at it as a failure. Just look at it as a step closer to success. And this is even being used by a lot of companies nowadays, where people are being encouraged to do experiments that are gonna fail. Because when you have 100 experiments, that's when you're gonna get your home run. And you don't know whether it's number 3 or whether it's number 73. But for you to get number 73
or 99
or number 99, you have to do the 100.
Even 100.
So every failed experiment is a step towards what you're looking for.
100%.
So it's okay. Take a break. Take a breather.
I'm taking a break. No,
Take a
I am
pause.
taking a break from all
Take a
of
pause.
it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We understand
like,
it.
Take a pause, but then wake up after some time. We were all but hurt by the results that we got in this past election.
But also remember, let me also say this, before Ruth chimes in. I think also it's not a silver lining, but a lesson learned or something that have gained is
Take a break and reflect.
you can reflect.
Yeah.
But
The thing is this.
uh,
This is how I look at failure. Bilali amesema, you need failure for successes. And this is something that I personally, right, I can use myself as an example. You guys have been my friends for so long. You've been with me. You've seen me go through my health struggles, right? You've seen me go through my weight struggles, right? It took me trying so many things to figure out a perfect way for me to get my weight in check and to work on it. If I'd given up all those years and all the things I've tried, singefika pale niko. And this is something that I put in work, I put in life. You find solutions in a problem. You never find solution outside of the problems. So we lost these elections. We look at why did we lose these elections and find the solutions of winning the next elections within ourselves. That's what Joe Biden did in 2016. Why did Trump beat Hillary? And that's why the Democrats looked at it and came in. At this point, we were the incumbents. We had a good candidate. We thought we going with the same momentum, but apparently that's not what the country wanted. People search it out, and the other side came out and won. So look into it, reflect, look at the lessons, see the differences, communicate with your people, talk to your people. As I said, don't give up. Talk to your people. Tell them, you know what, we lost. Yeah, we lost because of this and this, and accept. Like, okay, this is what made us lose. This is what we need to improve on. This is what's going to make us win, and use these years to pinpoint the lessons as we're getting, because these guys, they've decided this is how they're going to run the country, like a business. Let's see how it goes. Look at what they're doing, see what we're benefiting from it, how we're building ourselves, and come back stronger and get it back. That is how you deal with life. You don't. It's okay to feel defeated, but always look at the lessons from that defeat. A defeat is not the end of it. If it was the end of it, at the end of a season, everybody will be a champion. There's a reason why there's one champion. But then there's a reason why every team comes back next season is because they believe that they can improve on their weaknesses and dethrone that champion. That's life. We learn from our failures. Nobody is born knowing everything.
And to buttress Mika's point also is also look at what the positives that Gen Z brought about, because again, I will always go back to what those guys, the Gen Z, taught us. They were doing the finance bill in the
Local languages.
in the local languages.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We learned a lot. We when you look at someone like Jimmy Wanjigi educating us about SGR and also
the debt.
the debt,
Yeah, odious debt.
odious debt, and procurement and stuff. And on top of that, people are learning, people having kamkunjis, Twitter spaces, learning about the constitution. What does this mean? What does this mean, or whatever? Those are the silver linings.
Yeah.
In as much as people are being abducted in broad daylight with cameras running,
Mm-hmm.
guys are still abducted, even though a promise was made during campaigns. This thing will stop.
Yeah.
So this is a moment where you're like, you know what, you hunker down and learn more, because we understand IEBC has not been constituted yet.
Yeah.